Imagine you're walking downtown and there's a crowd of people all around you. You see someone fall and they seem unconscious. Would you help that person? Would you call 911? Would you start performing CPR if you could? Many people would automatically say, yes, of course I would help a person in need. However, a sociological phenomenon known as the bystander effect answers that question a little bit differently. Once you know about the bystander effect, it is my hope that you'll be more mindful when you're in a group of people and you see someone in need. Almost every day, we come in contact with all sorts of people. Most of them aren't malicious and don't intend to cause harm. However, not doing anything can be just as harmful. I chose this topic because when I was in high school, I was working at a coffee shop and I saw a woman have a heart attack and drop to the floor. Everybody around me froze for what seemed like forever. I hesitated as well, not knowing what to do, when my coworker told me to call 911. As I was on the phone, one of our regular customers came in and immediately started performing CPR, just after registering that this woman needed help, not knowing who she was. Now in that moment, nobody knew what to do. The woman's friend didn't even help her right away. Luckily, someone reacted to the situation, the customer who performed CPR and my coworker who told me to call 911. In a room of roughly 20 people, only 2 reacted. I chose this picture because it captivates the bystander effect by showing that you could be surrounded by well-intentioned people, but the larger the group is, the less likely it is that they will help. I would like to bring up 3 areas of social psychology that I feel pertain to how people act in large groups and the detrimental effects of their actions or inactions: the bystander effect, diffusion of responsibility, and deindividuation. Now let's take it to where it all started. A prominent example that stands out when I think of the bystander effect is the tragedy of Kitty Genovese. In 1964, 28-year-old Kitty Genovese was brutally murdered not 100 feet from her apartment building. 38 people in the vicinity witnessed her being stabbed to death, and not a single one called for help. The witnesses thought that someone else would have called 911, and others stated that they just didn't want to get involved. Following this infamous case, social psychologists popularized the concept known as the bystander effect. Research suggests that when you're in a group of people, you're less likely to help someone in need. In a study, participants were told to fill out a questionnaire while smoke filled the room, a clear sign of danger. When bystanders were alone, 75% of the people left the room and reported the smoke. When a group of 3 were together, only 38% left the room to report the smoke. Furthermore, for the people that did end up helping, it took less time to take action when they were alone versus when they were in a group. Being part of a large crowd makes people think that they don't have to take responsibility. The presence of other people creates a diffusion of responsibility. This is when people assume that others will take action. So we can assume that the bystander effect happens because of the diffusion of responsibility. This responsibility is thought to be shared among all of those that are present. When there are more people present, the percentage of perceived responsibility for a single person decreases. This can occur in a classroom setting, when a teacher asks a question and the students feel less responsible to answer because they assume that someone else will. This can also occur when walking downtown. If someone is unconscious on the street, people are not likely to help because they are conforming to a societal rule of keeping in line with everybody else. Some people also think that helping someone will inconvenience them in some way. As soon as someone does offer to help, however, it is more likely that others will follow suit and conform to the new rule and offer help as well. People are more likely to help if they've known the victim, have medical training, been a victim at one time in their life, have knowledge of self-defense, or feel like the person is deserving of help. The bystander effect isn't the only phenomenon that can happen in the presence of a large group. Another problem occurrence is called deindividuation. What happens is that being part of a group diminishes one's sense of self-awareness. They are more likely to act impulsively, and the group conceals a person's identity, so they're more likely to perform heinous and criminal acts. Let's take Black Friday shoppers, for example. They tend to exhibit deviant and antisocial behavior, sometimes trampling others to death to get the items that they want. But being in a crowd makes it easier for everyone to just go along with it. I feel that this picture accurately portrays the dehumanization that occurs during events like Black Friday. There are many reasons why people think that they shouldn't help, or why people suddenly become cruel in the presence of others. They don't want to deviate from the societal norm, everybody else is doing it, or they don't feel like the person is deserving of help. In any case, there are things we can do to overcome the bystander effect, which are the 3 Ds of bystander intervention. The first one is direct. Intervening directly can stop a potential problem situation from happening. This can be like asking the victim if they are all right and telling the abuser to leave. The second one is delegate. Seek help from someone nearby. Point to someone and tell him or her to call 911 or get help. When people are singled out, they feel more responsibility to act. The third one is distract. Interrupt the situation to discontinue abusive behavior. This can be spilling a drink at a party, telling the abuser their car is being towed, or ask the victim to help you with something. Some rules for bystander intervention, though, is do not put yourself at risk. Do not make the situation worse. Intervene at the earliest point possible, and ask for help. Ultimately, by helping others, you can benefit too. When people do good things for others, the part of your brain responsible for your reward system is activated and areas linked to stress are reduced. Most bystanders are not malicious, they just don't know how to help. Now that you are more aware of the bystander effect, hopefully we can work together to prevent it from happening in the future. It is part of our societal norm to do what everyone else is doing, and people don't want to deviate from the norm or inconvenience themselves, so people often don't help. If more people were aware of this phenomenon, then more people might go out of their way to diffuse a problematic situation. Just remember the 3 Ds of bystander intervention. Directly intervene, delegate others to help, and distract the abuser. If you ever think to yourself, someone should help them, don't wait. Just be the hero that person needs. You don't want to wait and see what will happen if you don't stand up. At the very least, calling 911 can potentially save someone's life, like it could have saved Kitty Genovese. Thank you.